Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Max and today we're doing something kind of random but also kind of not. I do a lot of painting on things that aren't canvases because I hate that. Objects. And today we have an object that I don't think I've painted on before. It's a notebook. That was really anticlimactic. Anyway, I've painted on a sketchbook before, but this is completely different. It's smaller, it's flimsier. It's just one of those, like, you probably know what I mean, one of those standard A5 flimsy, like a pound or less kind of notebooks that you would write spellings in as a 5-year-old or however old you are when you learn to spell. I'd previously tried to paint on it before. Well, I had painted on it before. I painted it brown. I wanted to make it look like it was a nice leather-bound, nice thing. It didn't work, it just looked brown. I'll tell you more about what the notebook's actually for in the actual body of the video. But I'm actually quite keen to do this. I've not painted a, fun design for a while. So without further ado, let's begin. Enjoy. Here it is. The monstrosity that is the brown notebook. The first thing I'm going to do is do a white base coat so it's easier to paint on. And here I am beginning my sketch. Now, the concept was this. Basically, it was going to be lots of, colourful, random stuff crammed all together. There was going to be, rainbows. There was going to be, Tetris blocks. There was going to be little critters. My goal was to cram as much stuff in as possible and fill every little space, and naturally there was going to be some little spaces that were kind of ambiguously shaped and couldn't be fitted anything into. So I just put random blobs of slime or sludge, which was then colourful, so it kind of looked like there was something there when there wasn't really. I kind of went backwards and forwards between each cover when doing the sketch because I felt like I needed to refresh my brain from one side to come up with more ideas for it, because there's only so much random stuff someone can come up with at a given time. I think my favourite is definitely the critters. They're not really anything. Some of them look like cats, some of them look like penguins, some of them just look like squares with eyes. I also put in eyes, buttons, tree logs, drips, stairs, and other random things. And then I began the painting. Now, I'm not exaggerating when I say this took me literally hours. My phone couldn't cope with the amount of footage I had on it, and I had to delete so much stuff in order to fit this on. This is just a 14-minute video, but this is at least 6 hours of my life. But anyway, painting it. Now, that was an experience because, as you can see, the colours are very unexciting to start with. If you look at the colours on the palette, they're vibrant, they're nice, they're kind of tasty looking, and then I put them on the weird grey background, and instantly they lose all their vibrancy. And at this point I was starting to panic. I didn't want to have to mix up a whole new load of colours, because I hate mixing colours, it's not the funnest thing. But in the end, I think the main cause of this lack of confidence in the colours is the weird order that I put them on, because to start with, it's these kind of the back end of the rainbow all put together, and they just didn't look nice together, and that's because I hadn't put all the colours on. By the time I'd actually finished putting on the colours, it did look better. It didn't look perfect, but it looked better. Quick disclaimer, you are going to notice some funky camera angles. I was trying to make the video more interesting, and it may or may not work. It might just be confusing. By this point in the painting process, I was starting to think of possibly doing a second coat, because as you can probably tell, the colours are very patchy, and you can see the patchiness of the white behind them, and that would be another reason why they look so sad and desaturated. Anyway, onto the question I'm sure you've all been asking. What is this notebook for? And if you're not asking that, that's fine. It's really not that interesting. Basically, I've been teaching myself Korean on Duolingo. I've so far got a 12-day streak, and yes, he is holding my family hostage, and I do need help. Anyway, while I do this Duolingo course on my phone, every time I get given a new word, I take a screenshot of it, and then I write it down on loose paper, and then I transfer that into this book in like kind of loosely alphabetical order, so it's kind of like a dictionary, but also kind of not. I don't know if any of that's interesting to anyone. I just thought I'd let you know because you clicked on this video, so maybe there's a small chance that you care. As you can see, it looked much better once I'd finished all the colours. It was still a little bit desaturated, but this next step fixed all of that. Basically, I got out loads of coloured pencils and I just went around the edges of all of the shapes that were that colour and shaded them lightly. I have some very nice coloured pencils. I don't know how expensive they were. I was given them by someone else, but they are very good quality in my opinion, and so the pigment in them is really pungent, and so it really brought out the saturation of all the colours. I also used the pencils to add the details to the little critters' faces, like their ears and their mouths and their arms, potentially if they had arms. And as I was drawing these, I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched by some sort of sinister force, and that is because of the deep, dark, staring, soulless eyes of these creatures. They're just black holes that just dig deep into your soul, and it was actually incredibly uncomfortable, and I don't know if any of that's coming through on camera, but at the time it was actually quite scary. I'd just like to stop momentarily and give a word of appreciation to Mr. Dinosaur over there, that green rectangle with an arm that I'm currently blocking with my hand. He is a very good boy, and I'm very proud of him because I thought he would look really bad, especially when I put his nostril in completely the wrong place. But he actually looks quite good, and he's definitely one of my favourite critters. There is another one on the other side that I might like a little bit more, I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you know when we get to him. I think this stage of the process was probably my favourite because it's when everything started to look more as I'd imagined it and everything started to come together. And you know, in a lot of art there's always an ugly phase that you kind of think about giving up, but then you don't because you get to this phase where it all starts to look nice again, and it's just satisfying when that happens. It may also have something to do with the fact that coloured pencils are my favourite medium at the moment. I don't know if any of you follow my Instagram, and I also don't know when I'm posting this, but at the moment of me talking right now, I've been posting some coloured pencil surrealism portraits on my Instagram, and it's currently like my favourite thing in the world, and it's all I want to do. And I started doing it for school, and I think I'm going to continue doing it for fun at home in the upcoming holidays. And now that the colouring is finished, let's begin getting rid of the weird soulless eyes. I just got some white paint and added some highlights to the eyes and also to all like the slimy bits to make them look more slimy. And let's start on the back side of the back cover of the book. And this is basically just going to be the entire process over again. With this side, I added more rainbows than the other side because I felt like that was kind of a underplayed feature and I wanted to lean into it a bit more. But in general, I think individually, the individual components of this side on their own, I like a lot. Like the eye with the drips, the rainbows, the one little guy that I'm going to talk about later. I really like those all individually, but as a whole, the other side is the one that I prefer. I'm not completely sure why. I think it's because the composition makes more sense on the other side. In this side, it's more random, but not in a good way. I don't know if you understand what I mean. But that's as best I can do it is explaining it. Also, I learned from my mistakes and put the colours in a more logical order. So, you know, rainbow order, red, orange, yellow, green, turquoise, blue, purple, pink. And as intended, it kind of restored my faith in the whole process because from the beginning it looked much better than the other side did. Just in case you're wondering about the structural integrity of the book, if we fast forward to the beginning, I made a point of saying how flimsy it was. It's flimsier. Because apparently you needed to know that. But anyway, I combated that issue by sticking some card on the insides of the covers. Because it's, if you know the kind of book I'm talking about, which I hope you do, it's basically just kind of half card, like it's half paper, half card. And when you put a lot of paint on something that's not built for paint, it goes kind of soft and meaningless. So I just stuck the card on to, you know, restore its structural integrity a bit. And another benefit of that was that I could kind of decorate the inside covers a bit. I stuck some washi tape around the edges and eventually I'm gonna write some nice text on it once I've decided what exactly that would be. To start with, I was kind of worried about the logs and the brown might look kind of out of place, but it actually didn't. It was fine because it kind of toned in with the other colors, even though brown's not in the rainbow, because, you know, mixing all the rainbow together makes brown. It did fit in after all. And here I am putting in those scary soulless eyes again, and beginning my favorite part, the shading process. And, right, what I'm working on right there, that little guy. That is the little guy I've been talking about this whole time. That is my favorite little guy of the whole thing. He's just so cute. He's like a little, like froob. What are they called? Floob. GG. It's too long a story to explain, so I won't. But he's like a little, like, cute, bendy thing, and he's so happy. And he just makes me happy to look at. And you didn't need to know that, but I just thought you should anyway, so you know now, there. And to a more somber topic, the one I'm working on there, that little penguin looking thing, I did him wrong. I don't know why I shaded him in such a way that made him look like some sort of demon from the depths of hell, but I did, and I feel very bad about it, because I feel like he had the potential to be incredibly cute and huggable, but he's not. He's just kind of scary looking, and I regret that. Overall though, I had so much fun making this. This has definitely been, like, my favorite project for a while. And that's kind of easy to say because I've not really done any projects for a while, but even including the ones that I had done, this was so much fun. And I know I was complaining about how long it took at the beginning, but honestly, I don't care because that was like 6 hours of my life, but it was 6 hours of my life spent well, and 6 hours of my life that I enjoyed. And I definitely want to do some more fun stuff that's kind of like this in the future, so, you know, you can look forward to that as well. And also, it's nice that I could incorporate one of my other hobbies into my art, because as I've explained before, I've got this trait where I get obsessed with one thing at a time and don't do multiple things together. And instead of giving up on my art while doing the Korean thing, I kind of like put it together. And I hope I can do that with some other stuff in the future so I can keep making content. And another thing, I'm kind of obsessed with buying new notebooks and then not using them. I have so many notebooks that have only a couple pages done in them, because whenever I go to a shop I see a new notebook and I'm like, oh, I must have it. But this is nice because it's like I've given myself a new notebook but haven't like spent any money. It's like I've recycled a notebook and now it's better and it's more personalized. And now that I've personalized it and I really like looking at it, it's more likely that I'm gonna stick with my new hobby of learning Korean and hoping that my family don't get taken from me by the Duolingo bird. And I'm just finishing up the design now, adding the final details to the logs and shading everything in. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I so much enjoyed this whole project. Honestly, I had so much fun. And this is the final piece. I hope you like it as well. And I also hope to see you in the next video. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed it. And I'd also really like it if you got creative as well and made some of your own things, because it's honestly so good for the world. Thank you and goodbye.